bottom four haven't changed. The Jets still suck. The Jags still sucks. Lions are still underrated. The Texans are, catching reality. But then it's the Giants, Falcons, Bears. What?
Did you just say the Lions are underrated?
Yeah, they are.
Buck, you realize they're 0-3, right?
You realize they were leading the Packers at halftime, and they lost
just
because the refs
you
sucked
picked them to be 11-6 does not make them underrated.
It's still a chance, dog. It's still a chance.
Where would you like me to have them? Sorry, I know we're going to get to my rankings. We're maybe behind here.
Well, we are not behind. You have all the time in the
world.
Good.
Okay.
Because we're talking football, and I know how to get underneath Combs' skin. I'm already prying under it. Combs, the Lions should easily be above the Vikings right now at number 20. So they should be 19, 20, 21 range. Easy.
They haven't won a game, Buck. Last time I checked, the Vikings are 1-2. Okay. How can you have an 0-3 team ranked above a 1-2 team?
He has a Colts ranked above the Bears.
I would have the Bears at 33.
Here you go.
That's how bad they are. I would have them at 33. They are so bad. I would pick up a college team to put at 32 and drop the Bears at 33 as long as Matt Nagy's their head coach.
Hey, Graham, you looked surprised when I told you that the Bears were ranked below the Colts.
I had to kind of look at my and be like, wait, yeah, I did do that.
It's because the Bears suck. Let's just be honest. The Bears are the worst team in NFL
Bears are having
football.
a rough season. 47 yards total offense. I mean, that's just a tough pill to swallow. Week 2 was a pretty good performance against the Bengals, who seem to be a team kind of on the rise. But I think we should just maybe continue with the rankings. I mean, they're both having tough seasons. Let's just say that. Sometimes it's a crapshoot for me putting these teams. They're all kind of in the same bundle, and sometimes it's a crappy bundle, and it's just kind of a toss-up.
Just moving forward, always put the Lions above the Bears. I mean, that's how you got to do.
Being in Toronto, who's your team in the NFL?
So I'm a Bills fan. Their games are always on TV here. My parents threw a Super Bowl party years ago. I think it was the Bills Giants Super Bowl. I was just a little kid, but I remember that vividly, and that's kind of what started me on this whole Bills fandom thing. I do remember vaguely the Jim Kelly years, and then kind of a bunch of rough years after that, and their games are always on TV. Yeah,
Jays and Maple Leafs.
You got it.
You literally live the sports hell.
Yeah, well, I'm a Raptors guy too. We won the championship a couple years ago. That was pretty cool. But
I'm a
tough guy. I'm a Canadian.
Right? Yeah,
we're tough. We're polite, but we're tough.
So look, as long as your rankings are better than Benzie's, and so far they sound like they are, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So he did have some big movers in the bottom half. Coming in at number 17 was Cincy. And then at 16, this is a first break here, is you had the New Orleans Saints up from last week. Why'd you put the Saints there?
Yeah, well, I feel like this was a really important week for the New Orleans Saints because through 2 games, I really didn't know what their identity was.
Right.
Now, after a couple of successful games, I think the formula for success for them is 25 or less pass attempts for Jameis Winston, and also incorporating Taysom Hill as that kind of wild card, secondary quarterback, whether it's a run or a different pass option. I think he still needs to be a big part of this team. And, I think that's kind of their formula for success.
Yeah, and I think you are spot on that because they do arguably have a top 5 running back in the league, and their top receiver is out, and Michael Thomas, and we don't know when he's going to come back. I think he got put on IR, so I don't think he's even eligible till week 8, I think it is. But, yeah, I mean, you are exactly right. The less Winston can throw the ball, the less chance he has to throw interceptions, and the less they can put the back against the wall. So 16 for the Saints, I think, is pretty much spot on. At number 15, you had the Tennessee Titans after a big win versus the Colts. They also moved up in the rankings.
They did, yeah. I think this might be the best of a bad bunch. I'm not really impressed with what I've seen from the AFC South so far. They kind of had a back and forth battle with the Colts, who have had, a tough season so far. I think they've done enough to be somewhere in the middle of those rankings. They might only win, say, 9 or 10 games, but be at the top of that division. I haven't liked what I've seen from the other teams. There's only 1 win combined from the other 3 teams. So Titans, I don't really think they're a real contender. I think they're going to probably be a playoff team, but I think they need to tighten up the screws on the defense a bit and just be more impressive generally.
So
But they're 2-1, so you can't really complain too much.
So
Really
you-
unimpressive week 1 performance. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. So you're not impressed with what you're seeing from the Tennessee Titans. Why have them above? So to me, I would have the
Yeah.
New Orleans Saints a little bit higher than what you do, and I would definitely have them higher than the Tennessee Titans because I'm with you. Like I'm not
Yeah.
impressed with what they've done so far. But the New Orleans Saints, I mean, they manhandled the Green Bay Packers in Week 1. I mean, manhandled them.
Yep.
And then they went out and they had a little. We didn't expect the Panthers to be as good as they are. Nobody thought they were going to be 3-0. But then they
No.
walked into New England and beat down a pretty dang good Patriots defense and put 28 points up on them.
Yeah.
with the rookie quarterback.
I just, for me, with everything you're saying, like I'm kind of confused as to why you wouldn't have the Saints ahead of the Titans.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to that quarterback position. I still don't really trust Jameis Winston. So far he's had 2 good
Oh,
games and
Fuck, he don't know.
1 not so
He
good
doesn't know.
game. I actually like Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback much more than Jameis Winston. If you
Graham.
look at his 2019 season, he led the league in yards per attempt, and he had the highest quarterback rating in about a decade. I still
have
think
you ever
people-
watched the Man Hour, Graham? Because
I mean, I have.
A lot of people come at me.
I got the
Jameis
mute
Winston's a
button.
top 10 quarterback in this league right now.
He threw 30 interceptions 2 years ago.
He was
30.
also that same year. He was one of 8 quarterbacks ever to throw for 5,000 yards and 30+ touchdowns.
He's the
Same
reason
season.
that team didn't make the playoffs. He's literally the
No.
reason.
The coaching staff and the play
8
calling is the reason
interceptions the
that team.
last 3 games. 8.
Graham.
Come
First
on.
of all, don't take into account what Tampa Bay did last year because it was a completely different team in Tampa Bay last year because you had the greatest quarterback of all time. He brought his friend Gronk with him. He brought AB with him. It was a completely different team, and he had to take over the play calling because it was atrocious in the first half of the season.
Okay.
That showed right there that Jameis Winston was at, and I agree with you. Keep Jameis Winston at 25 or less because that does seem to be the recipe for
Right.
success there.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to limit his mistakes, and so far they've done a great job of that. The guy's thrown for 8 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions so far this season. So, I'm okay with what they're doing there. Jameis Winston is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I'm telling you right now, one of only 8 all time to throw. And people get mad at me when I say this. That you want to talk about the interceptions, that's fine. Brett Favre made a Hall of Fame career out of throwing interceptions.
He never threw 30 in a season.
He threw 29.
That's not 30, Combs. That's not 30.
4 times in his career, he had more interceptions than he had touchdown passes.
Okay. I'm not even close to ready to put him at the top 10. I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think he's somewhere in the middle. Okay. Do you think he's better than Josh Allen? Do you think he's better than Baker Mayfield? Do you think he's better than Lamar Jackson? Do you think he's
Yes.
better than Aaron
Yes.
Rodgers? Do you think he's better than Matthew Stafford?
He's not better than Matthew Stafford.
Like I
He's
can
not better
name
than
10
Aaron
quarterbacks
Rodgers.
easily that are better than him.
I
It's
would
not hard.
There was a couple that you just named that I would take him over. I
Like,
would
do you
take him
think he's
over
better
Lamar
than Jimmy
Jackson.
Garoppolo?
Yes.
Okay. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. He hasn't won a playoff game.
Well, he's never played on a team like the San Francisco 49ers have had in the last couple
Yeah.
of years either.
I
that
can't
that
do it.
defense was
You're entitled.
insane.
You think he's better than Dak Prescott?
No.
Okay.
But to me, Dak Prescott's a top 5 or 6 quarterback right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
this is what it's all about, right? We have different opinions, and
I have
we
Jameis at
chop
10.
it up, right? That's
I
okay.
have Jameis at 10.
Okay. Do
yeah,
you think he's better than Baker?
Yes.
Wow.
I would take him over Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
we do have difference of opinion. Just Combs just happens to be wrong. Speaking of not being wrong, is that we all did not expect the Panthers to be 3-0 moving forward. They do come in at number 14 here. Fun fact: every time the Panthers have started the season 3-0, they have went to the Super Bowl.
Wow. I don't know if that's in their future, but really like what I've seen from this team so far. Sam Darnold looks like he's kind of reinvented. I know they haven't played a lot of tough opponents. Obviously, the win against the Saints was an impressive win. That defense is flying around. So I think this could definitely be a playoff team, Super Bowl team. I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, the good thing about the the bad thing about the Panthers, I should say, is Christian McCaffrey is hurt, and I believe he's going to miss. Yeah. He's supposed to miss 2 or 3 weeks with a hamstring, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see what kind of team they really are without CMC in there moving forward, but I do like them at 14. They are a big surprise and definitely moving up and trending up.
Don't sleep on Chuba Hubbard either.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Canadian. All right. And then coming in at number 13, you do have another 3-0 team on the rise, the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, a lot of people might say, well, why don't you have them higher? They're 3-0. Well, the combined record of the three teams they played is 0-9. They played
Preach it.
they beat the Jets, they beat the Jags, and they
Giants.
beat someone. Thank you, the Giants. So 3 of my bottom 5 teams. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I really like this defense. I think Vic Fangio is getting a chance to be a head coach actually in his 3rd season, despite not having much success in his first 2 seasons, which is nice to see. Getting this guy a chance. He's a football lifer, big time defensive coach. But I'm just not really ready to say they're a real contender just yet. I want to see them play and beat a really good team.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the Broncos. I've got there's a girl at work who she's a big Broncos fan. Her name is Liz. She comes at me all the time about the Broncos and the fact that I give them too much crap. And I tell her all the time, it's not me giving them crap. It's just I just don't believe in them yet. Look, they're 3-0. The next 6 weeks are really going to tell the tale for them because they've got Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Vegas, Cleveland, Washington, and Dallas. If they come out of that even 500, and that means they're 6-3. At that point, 500 out of that schedule, I'll consider them a good team. I don't think they will.
Same.
Though.
Yeah.
I think they're probably 1-5 or 2-4 in that stretch.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of W's out of those, or hear a lot of W's out of those teams you mentioned. 2-4 seems likely, but you never know. They're playing with confidence right now. Bridgewater's not turning the ball over. He's not really an explosive quarterback, but the run game's going with Javonte Williams and company. So I think we're on the same page.
And with Bridgewater, he's one of those guys, and we've talked about this before, Buck, where I'm just not sure what it is with Bridgewater because it seems like every team he plays on, they're too willing, I should say, to allow him to leave. You know what I mean? To me, it seems like maybe there's something in the head, or maybe he's a certain way in the locker room. But every team he's played on has been really okay with replacing him.
I think the caveat with the Vikings was the injury. He suffered a really tough injury, and he tried to come back, and he wasn't really.
And
then
they traded for Cousins. Yep.
Right. Yeah. And then Carolina, they're kind of in a transition right now, and I think Matt Rule was. Even this time last season, he was like, who's going to be my quarterback next year? They ended up making that trade with the Jets for Sam Darnold. I was pretty critical of it, skeptical of his ability to be a good quarterback, but he's looked pretty good so far this year. Darnold, that is.
Yeah, I wasn't skeptical of Darnold either. I figured he had just been in a really bad situation in a really bad organization. I was happy for Darnold to get out of the Jets because I thought he was a good quarterback even in New York. He just never had a chance.
Yeah, so
now they got Zach Wilson. So, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
You're totally fine. Zach is trash per Torrey Anderson. So speaking of bad situations, the 49ers were in bad situation last year, but they come in at number 12, but they are trending down.
Yeah, I didn't want to kill them too much for this loss. I just was really unimpressive how they came out on the Sunday night game, not swinging, like you said earlier in the program, down 17-0 at the half. I just thought they had no punch to them, and it took a really great effort in the second half to even get back into this game. I know they took a late lead, and that was really impressive. I like them bringing in Trey Lance on that 4th down gamble. He was able to score the easy walk-in touchdown there. I just think they needed to come out with a bit more fire, and it's very likely that they would have won this game and possibly been into my top 5.
Yeah, the 49ers are a good team, just the Packers are a little bit better, and I think that will reflect moving forward here. Coming in at number 11, looks like this might be your biggest dropper of the week, or my Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I struggled with this, guys. I still consider them, a playoff team, but at 1-2, they're at the bottom of the AFC West right now. There's 2 3-0 teams, and there's the Chargers who just beat them, who's coming in at 2-1 as well. I think there's a lot of there's some troubling trends that are happening in the last couple of weeks with the turnovers and the interceptions, particularly with Mahomes. Now, I did some reading about this. They have 9 new starters combined on offense and defense, and I think there's some gelling going on with those 2 units. They're giving up a ton of yards, however. both through the pass and run game on defense. So that's troubling as well. I think they're going to figure it out. You have to give them some benefit of the doubt. This is a team that's been to the Super Bowl the last couple of years, but the Super Bowl hangover, guys, is real. We've seen this with many teams that have lost in the Super Bowl and they ended up having a 7-9 or something like that season. So that's very possible. I think they have the ability to dig themselves out of this small hole that they've dug for themselves, but they got to start playing better and soon.
Well, I picked them at the beginning of the season to be 14-3, and I had them starting the season 0-3.
Whoa.
And just had them going on a run. And I thought they're a Cleveland collapse away from being 0-3, right? So I think that they're right on par with where I thought they would be. I think they're going to go out and tear up Philadelphia this week, and then then they get Buffalo, which is going to be the challenge. But then if they beat Buffalo, that's really going to send them on a roll, and I think they could still finish the season 14-3, 15-2, somewhere around that ballpark.
Wow.
Yeah, and
they'll turn it around. I believe in Patty Mahomes,
and I think the losing of Sammy Hawkins is hurting the Kansas City Chiefs more than what was on the surface, to be honest.
But now they got Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be really relaxed in that clubhouse.
So what do you guys give him? 3 games? 4 games?
3.
Before he gets suspended?
Before he's out of the league for one reason or another.
Oh, yeah. Until the end of the season.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a big bet.
I would love to see him find success and find happiness, And that team, Tyreek Hill had his own problems in college. A lot of people kind of forget about that. But he slipped big time in the draft, and he's been pretty clean since he's been in the NFL. So.
Well, Andy Reid's a genius of sweeping stuff under the rug as well. We just want to point that out there. So coming in at number 11, Mike LeBlanc's Dallas Cowboys after a huge win.
Number 10,
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. I thought it was a really impressive win. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles they seem to be in a rebuild right now. Jalen Hurts had probably his worst game as a pro, but I'm impressed with this team. The defense looks a lot better. It looks re-energized. Micah Parsons, I'm going to keep hammering this home, Defensive Rookie of the Year. This guy Diggs is very impressive out on the secondary as well. So, the thing is, they only need their defense to be somewhere in the middle. This looks like potentially a top 5 offensive unit. So they look by far the class of the NFC East. So they just got to keep playing well, and they'll find themselves in at least with a home playoff game.
Yeah, you are exactly right. So the biggest knock about the Dallas Cowboys, and let's say just point this towards Amari Cooper, is he played great at home, but on the road he is always non-existent. And I do the Dallas Cowboys play 9 games on the road this season, so hopefully Amari Cooper can do what he does at home in at least 80% like on the road, and the Cowboys are a Super Bowl bound team. They are that good, I think. So Combs, shake your head all you want. The Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. Next up is you do have the LA Chargers. Another big riser, beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I think it was most likely the most impressive win of week 2. I really like what I saw out of Justin Herbert. The defense definitely showed up. They got a little lucky with the one no look pass Mahomes threw. It obviously went off the receiver's hand and into the defender's arm, but he did make the catch. They made the plays they had to. And if you think about the week 2 game against the Cowboys, it was a really weird penalty marred game. They certainly could have won that game. They could find themselves 3-0, guys. I've been pretty impressed with this team. I wasn't really on the bandwagon at the beginning, but I've liked what I've seen from them through 3 weeks. And I like the head coach, Brandon Staley. I think he's a rising kind of star in the coaching world.
Yeah, they're another team that, for me, like the Broncos, I have to see what they do in the next coming weeks. So, like, their schedule right now coming up is going to be Vegas, which is basically it's at home, but it's basically going to be a home game for the Raiders. Then they've got the Browns, and then they're at Baltimore, and then they head to New England. Like, I really feel like this is going to be the telling tale. If they come out of these next 4 games, 2-2 or 3-1. I think they're in really good shape.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of really good shape, the Arizona Cardinals are on the rise as well. They come in at number 8.
Yeah. I didn't want to bump them up too much by beating Jacksonville, who I have at the bottom of the rankings. But this was a weird game, guys. They had to fight back to win this. There was the missed field goal return for a touchdown, 109 yards, tied the NFL record. And then there was a pretty gnarly interception early on by Kyler Murray. Fortunately, Trevor Lawrence threw a really bad pick six as well. Byron Murphy was able to grab that and run into the end zone, and they're able to kind of finish them off. I'm really impressed with what I've seen from the defense as well. They've got guys flying around, and they've got playmakers on all levels. Chandler Jones, they got Isaiah Simmons, Budda Baker. So the defense has been better than expected. And Kyler Murray, MVP.
You know, I went back and watched all 3 Arizona Cardinals games. Yes, they have been impressive wins score-wise, but if you really dig deep into those games, like I was breaking film down, I'm like, the Arizona Cardinals guys are not that good. They just haven't played very good teams. And Combs, me and you kind of sat here and thinking they were going to basically lead the West, and they were kind of Super Bowl outliers, Guys, I'm jumping off that Arizona Cardinals bandwagon. Like, you might have them at like 8, but I could easily see them dropping the next 3 of the four games easily.
Buck, they're averaging 35 points a game.
Versus who? The Jaguars? Congratulations.
They beat Tennessee.
Okay.
Convincingly.
Trash. That was a good win.
38-13 convincingly. They come back and they beat Minnesota, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then yes, they beat Jackson, but you still have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. That's the same thing we said about the Denver Broncos, right?
Did you not say that the Vikings were the worst team in the North?
The good teams.
Did you say the Vikings were the worst team in the North?
They're not the worst team in the North. The Detroit Lions are, but you refuse to talk about it because
that's a false statement.
Stupid prediction of 11-6. You want to talk about the Lions aren't the worst team in the division? They're 0-3, Buck. They haven't won a game.
We'll see that on Sunday. I'm jumping off.
I don't think they've won. Have they won 11 games in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I don't think they have.
Matthew Stafford flexed on.
I'm pretty sure last year. Pretty sure last year you picked them to win the division too. Just throwing it out there.
They were only a game behind.
Right.
Well, the thing about the Cardinals, guys, is they're playing the Rams in Los Angeles on Sunday. This is it. That's my number 1 team right now. They've been, or I meant maybe, who knows? Spoiler alerts, no spoilers. But a lot of people have them at number 1. They've been probably the most impressive team in the NFL so far. If Arizona can even hang tough with them for most of that game, that would show that they probably do belong in the top 8. If they get their doors blown off and they lose by 4 touchdowns, then obviously I had them ranked too high and they're going to take a tumble down. So we'll have to see next week.
You're going to take a tumble down if they lose to the Rams
by 4 touchdowns, I said.
Oh, by 4. Yeah, I don't.
When I say a tumble, more towards the middle. Yeah.
Is there a better division than the NFC West?
No.
AFC West.
AFC West, I'm tempted to say that, but I do think, like we kind of said before, Broncos and Chargers will probably take a couple steps back over the next month and a half or so. Overall, talent-wise, roster-wise, I do think it's the NFC West.
Yeah, Rams, Cardinals, Niners, and Seahawks all are going to have 10-plus wins this year.
If you want to talk about a sneaky good division, the AFC North is sneaky good. Let's just be honest about that. I mean,
Cincinnati is a lot better than I thought they would be. A lot of people killed them for drafting Jamar Chase. He looks like a star.
We were all of
them. And their line's been good enough. And Burrow looks like he's taking another step forward. And the defense is showing a bit of teeth. So pretty impressed with them so far through 3 games.
So coming in at number 7, you had the Cleveland Browns. They're on the rise as well with the addition of Odell Beckham Jr. They continue to get better. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, they just absolutely dominated the Chicago Bears. We kind of mentioned it before. 47 yards total offense. They just 9 sacks. You could poke holes in the game plan, but obviously the Browns were coming. They were coming for him on every play. So
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
That's okay. We could just gloss over it. Very impressive win for Cleveland. But it's very similar to what we were kind of saying before. I want to see them beat better teams. They hung tough with Kansas City in the first week, which is cool to see, but they still lost. So if they can beat a team like the Raiders or the Bills, that would be a bit more impressive.
Yeah. So speaking of the Raiders, are they coming at number 6? Sorry, Combs. Did you want to talk about the Browns?
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're impressive. I think 7's kind of low for them, to be honest with you. I think that I think for me, I have them as a top 5 team right now. I think Baker's has shown that he had a tendency to be a quarterback who you thought was over the hump and then would take that step back.
Yep.
And he is no longer showing that. He's showing as a guy who's going to continue to progress. He's finding ways to win games. I really like Cleveland. I like them higher than 7 though.
Let's
Yeah,
flash
that's
back
fair.
to last year's Monday night game when they had the Steelers when Baker went off for like 500 yards, right, Combs? We sat here and said,
Yeah.
hey, he is going to take a step back, but he can just continue to progress and, and better and better and better. So like I said, you do have the Raiders coming in at number 6, unchanged from last week.
Yeah, I kind of kept them where they were. Really interesting game. One of the more entertaining games from last week in the 4 o'clock window against Miami Dolphins, who showed a lot more fight than I think a lot of people anticipated with Jacoby Brissett. They were in that game to win it. Obviously, they didn't win it, but they went to overtime. So not a terribly impressive win necessarily for the Raiders, but in some ways it was because they had to fight back against a team that seemed really inspired to win that game. Derek Carr, along with Matt Stafford, has probably been 2 of the more impressive quarterbacks in the NFL so far. And the defense has been a little bit better than I've expected as well.
Yeah, just on the flip side of that, the Raiders started 6-2 last year, and then they fell off the face of there. So we'll see what happens. Good.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see a complete season from them. I'm not sure if it's going to happen this year, but you got to give them the kudos where it is. They beat the Raiders,
right,
and they beat they beat the Ravens, and they beat someone else good in the second game. Sorry, I'm snoozing on it right now. Steelers, thank you.
Yeah.
Who aren't looking so good right now. So who knows how impressive that is.
But it was a West to East Coast game at 1 o'clock.
It sure was.
So
yep.
Is Derek Carr the most underrated quarterback in the NFL?
Well, he might be. I mean, he's been to 3 Pro Bowls. I think he's starting to get his love right now. But I think it's always he threw for 400 yards and they lost by 6. Or he threw for 5 touchdowns, but then he threw an interception at the end of the game. It would always be, now he's making the winning plays that are actually making a difference in the game. And I think that's starting to give him a bit more recognition. So he's definitely on a short list, I'd say, probably.
He's been to 3 Pro Bowls because Patty Mahomes has been playing in the Super Bowl and Tom Brady doesn't go to the Pro Bowl. So
well, Trubisky made a Pro Bowl for God's sakes. I mean, they put in anyone in that game, right?
That should prove everything right there.
Well, you know who else made a Pro Bowl and that shouldn't have made a Pro Bowl, and that's Lamar Jackson. The Baltimore Ravens are unchanged from week 5. Obviously, the Zebras helped them out, and
MVP.
And the 65-yard and then record keeping field goal kept them at the top 5, but they're unchanged from last week.
Yeah, I will say I think this Lamar Jackson hate is a little crazy as well. I mean, he converted a 4th and 19 about a 35-yard pass down the field that set up the 66-yard field goal actually by Justin Tucker. Best kicker of all time? I'm thinking yes.
Hey, Graham, what's a crazier argument? Lamar Jackson is trash or Jameis Winston is top 10?
I think they're both poppycock, honestly.
Well, what was that word? Poopy caca? Is
poppycock?
Oh, poppycock.
Poppycock. Yeah, it's a kind of popcorn as well. I can't get behind either one of those, but that's okay. We can still be friends.
Okay. So speaking of being friends, we are friends with some Packer fans, and they do come in at 4, and they're up in the rankings.
Yeah, Combs said it. Maybe I had Browns too low. Maybe I have Packers too high here, but I just have a feeling that this team is kind of on a roll right now. I know it's only 2 in a row, but I like what I saw from the defense, especially in the first half. I think Joe Barry's unit is starting to come along. A lot of people were really critical of this hire, and he hasn't had a lot of success, honestly, as a defensive coordinator earlier in his career. But it seems like the guys are starting to buy in. We saw some really good plays on defense from them, and Rodgers looks like he's putting it together. We know he could get the job done. He's got a great chemistry with Devontae Adams, and he's developed it pretty nicely with Scantling. I couldn't quite get his name there. Thank you. So they have some nice weapons on offense there, and maybe I have them too high at 4, but I like the mojo going on with this team right now.
Yeah, I would have flip-flopped them in the Browns, and not to. I mean, you say you like what you saw from on, dude. They blew a 17-0 lead.
Yeah, they did. You got to give San Francisco some credit there.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I said, it's a little tough to put these together sometimes. I do put quite a bit of thought into it, and sometimes it's just a feeling like, well, this was a more impressive win, and you weigh different things, and people are always going to poke holes in them, and that's what it's for. But
so what you're saying
it's
is
hard
you
to put
follow
together
the eye test.
Perfect one. Yeah, you go with your gut, you go with
Yeah,
your
I
eye,
love the
you
eye
go with your
test.
heart, whatever, and
Welcome to the
whatever
Man
feels
Hour
right.
Nation, where we do all eye test.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I get criticized for that, by the way.
Yeah.
I get told that the only time I go to eye test is if I'm losing an argument, which is not true. It's
It
just
is
not
true,
right.
actually. So we are up to the top three here. So let's go with
Yeah,
number one. Number one is
okay,
a riser, and that's the LA Rams. They beat the
you
Bucks
got it.
on Sunday night, or Sunday.
Yeah.
Rams at one.
Rams at one. I was really impressed with what I saw. We saw the Sean McVay that we saw from a few years ago, smiling and energetic and happy. Apparently, he had a killer headache after the game. He just is in love with Matthew Stafford right now, and what he's doing with this offense. Who could blame him? He's throwing the ball down the field. The loss of Cam Akers really seems to be mitigated by a really pass happy offense. We'll see if Sony Michelle and company get
Yeah.
more carries as the season kind of goes on. But I really like what I've seen. The Aaron Donald is a dominator. They got Jalen Ramsey. They got a great defense as well. This looks like the most complete team and the best team right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and you do have them at number one, and also Henderson
Yeah.
is out for the foreseeable future as well. So Sonny Michelle
Yeah.
will be the workhorse, and they got a fourth rounder. Combs, you remember his name? Tori can name it, but I don't know who it is. But yeah, the Rams do look great.
Yeah.
The last time I did saw Sean McVay like this and love his quarterback this much, Jared Goff stole his girlfriend. So hopefully Matthew Stafford doesn't steal his girlfriend as well. So maybe
Oh,
the
gosh.
mojo will stay fine over there in LA. But next team we are going to talk about are the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah.
And we have two spots left, 2 and 3. Combs, where do you think the Bucks should land?
God, it's Tom Brady. So I mean, I guess I would throw him at 2.
And that's exactly where
Um,
he has him. The Bucks coming at
All
number
right.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't really drop them too far from they were the number one spot the first few weeks. They lost by 10. They were competitive in this game, but Rams definitely were better. I just didn't I thought they deserved the benefit of the doubt of not falling beyond that single spot. They're still a Super Bowl team in my mind. And unless they start losing more games, they're going to stay near the top of those rankings, I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
whoever won that game was going to get the number 1 seed, and whoever lost is going to stay at 2 for me. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just a battle of the two best teams in the NFL right now.
then that gives us our last team, the Buffalo Bills. They do come in at number 3. However, they are rising up.
Yeah.
I believe they had them at 4 last week, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah,
they're
that's
going up.
right. I mean, they beat the Washington football team. Some people say, well, there was a home game against a middling opponent, but they really kind of hammered this team. They confused Taylor Heineke. I know it was his first road start, only a second career start, or third if you count the playoff game from last season. But he really didn't look good. The pass rush is really improving. The running game looks really good, and it's usually the running game that kind of lags behind the passing attack. So that's really been good to see, and they've been able to make some plays on special teams as well. So this looks like a complete team and a Super Bowl contender, which I thought they would be kind of entering the season.
Let's not forget
Yeah,
that they
that's
pushed 2 shutouts
interesting.
too.
It's interesting that we've got 4 3-0 teams, and you've got 2-2-1 teams in your top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to put. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about the Broncos and Panthers.
Denver,
I
and
think
yeah,
we're anticipating them kind of falling off a little bit. I didn't want to put the Raiders too high because we've seen a blistering start from them before. So
I think
I'm
you're
kind of
sleeping
in.
on Arizona.
Well, maybe I had them at 10 last week. I moved them up a couple spots. I'm trying to be pretty deliberate in these rankings, and some of
Yeah,
these
yeah.
teams need to prove it to me a little bit more than others. And well, some have the stronger track rather record. So um,
All right. I
that's
mean,
kind of how I'm
35 points a
operating.
game.